When we talk about experiencing God's holy power and presence, there are a few key elements that we need to get right. First, we need to approach God with reverence. We need to understand that God is not just a friend or a buddy, but He is the Almighty Creator of the universe. We need to come to Him with humility and a sense of awe, recognizing that we are in the presence of the Holy One. Secondly, we need to prepare ourselves to meet with God. We need to set aside time to seek Him, to pray, and to meditate on His Word. We need to create space in our lives for God to move and to speak. Thirdly, we need to be open to God's presence. We need to be willing to let go of our control and our expectations and to simply be open to what God wants to do in our lives. This openness to God's presence is not just about feeling a certain way or experiencing a certain emotion. It's about being willing to surrender to God's will, even when it's hard or uncomfortable. It's about being willing to listen to God's voice, even when it's challenging or convicting. Fourthly, we need to be willing to respond to God's presence. We need to be willing to obey God's commands, even when they are difficult and costly. We need to be willing to use our gifts and talents to serve others and to live out our faith in a way that honors God. Throughout the Bible, we see examples of people who have experienced God's holy power and presence. We see Moses, who encountered God in the burning bush and was changed forever. We see Isaiah, who saw God's glory in the temple and was undone by His holiness. We see Peter, who walked on water with Jesus and experienced the power of God in ways that we never seen before. And we see countless others who have had their own encounter with God's presence. I've had my own experiences of God's presence, and I can tell you that they have been life-changing. There have been times when I felt God's power and presence in ways that has left me shaken and in awe. There have been times when I've heard God's voice in a way that has been crystal clear and unmistakable. And there has been times when I experienced God's peace and comfort in a way that's been truly overwhelming. But I've also had times when I've struggled to experience God's presence, when I've felt distant or disconnected from Him. One of the misconceptions that we often have about God's presence is that it's only for certain individuals or occasions. We think that God's presence is only for the supernatural or the ultra holy. We think that God's presence is only for special events and special times. But the reality is that God's presence is available to all of us at all times. God wants to meet with us, speak to us, and to guide us in our daily walk. As we seek to cultivate awareness of God's holy power and presence in our everyday lives, I want to leave you with a challenge. Take some time, quiet your heart, and to seek God's presence.